The first step of our Zentangle landscape is to look at your printout and kind of decide what part of this landscape you want to do. I tried to print them as large as I could for you. Some of them may have been square, some of them might have been longer. Mine is a pretty good proportion to the page. It filled the page pretty well. The drawing paper we are using has like a very similar sort of proportion. It's not too long and skinny, it's not too square. So, this sort of, rectangle, but more even rectangle is pretty good size. However, this picture, this is from a vacation I took last year to Arizona, and I really liked my time there, so I wanted to remember it. But the way that this picture is the foreground, this part, it really close, it's really big, and it's kind of plain. So it doesn't interest me as much, and I wouldn't necessarily want to include so much of it. So what I can do is crop. So by cropping, you can take your pencil and draw a line and kind of figure out where you want it to be. I'm going to actually kind of fold it up so it's not even visually there anymore for me. And to me, that is a nicer amount of the foreground than that big amount. But now it's too long. Now if I try to put it on my drawing, it's going to be too long. It's not going to be proportioned anymore. I also kind of have to crop some of the side off a little bit too. I think I'm actually going to just fold a little bit on both sides. Because I still want to keep that rock. Maybe a little bit on this side I could take over. Now, it's an estimate. I don't have to make it perfect, but I think that's pretty good. Now, the nice thing about folding it is I can always unfold and refold it if I did too much or not enough. So I like that. And I think it's about the same proportions. So what I'm going to do next is try to figure out the shapes in my drawing, okay, in my photograph, so that I can draw them. And I'm going to try to simplify things. There's a lot of details in here. There's a lot of different plant life in here, a lot of areas in the mountains. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually simplify it. You should do this in pencil. And when you do it in pencil, in person you can see it, but on the video it's hard to see. So I'm going to do this with colored Sharpie so that you can see it a little bit clearer. Okay, so first is my foreground. And I'm just going to outline I do want to include this rock as a shape. And that's really all I need for the foreground. The middle ground of this one has a lot of trees. I'm not going to try to draw every single tree. I'm actually going to, it's hard because it's black and white, and in the color printer, in the color photo it was easier to see this, but just from memory, I know there's a mountain here. Okay, and I'm going to sort of continue. This is like the middle ground. I see a line of trees on there. Notice how this is not perfect. It's an estimate. It's making shapes from all the different details. Okay, I'm not trying to capture everything. I do want to try to capture some of this bumpiness from the trees though. So I'm going to kind of look, some of them are easier to see than others, so I'm actually starting in the middle here. I'm going to kind of lead it to there. And again, what do I see? I see this tree here. Okay, it's not perfect. It's just an estimate of it. Another shape I kind of see, I see this area here where I kind of see through the shrubbery a little bit. So I'm going to outline that. Next, I'm going to start going in closer to the background. Now this is an easier one to outline because it's very clearly distinguished from the sky. Now you can treat it as one big shape, or you can try to go back in and break it up into smaller shapes. For now, I'm going to keep it one bigger shape. And then even further back, there's an even further back mount. And far away, there's an even farther away shape. The area where the sky meets the ground is called the horizon line. Now, if you were doing a water scene and you were looking out over the ocean, that usually is a really straight, literal horizon line. Normally, you can't see that line exactly because there are things blocking it. So, you know, unless you have water or something really far away and like flat plains, like that far away, that's why that looks so straight. That's more of the actual horizon line. But next I want to think about the sky. I do recommend, if you have clouds, to trace some of the clouds. Maybe not all, but some. Now the great thing about clouds is between one moment and the next, the wind will blow them and they change. So there's really no right or wrong with clouds as long as you come close. Okay, now before you decide that you're done, count your shapes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I've got a lot of shapes. You want to have at least 9 or 10 because each shape is going to have a different Zentangle. You can then decide, you know what, this is too big. I want to add trace a couple of trees and make them distinguished. Maybe I want to add a little bit more broken up areas and kind of break up the shapes a little bit more in the mountains. So yeah, you can just sort of find where there's shadows or where there's a change in color and create different lines. So you can add more into them if you would like. It's really your decision as to how detailed you want to get.